everyone. Good afternoon. I feel so weird that I'm taller than everyone for the first time ever. Hi everyone. Thank you for coming today. My name is Elizabeth Szynski, and you're late to lay out. My name is Elizabeth Szynski, and I am the Director of Programs and Impact here at Up Milwaukee. For those of you who are not familiar with Up Milwaukee, we are an economic development initiative under the Greater Milwaukee Committee. Our sole mission is to help companies grow, because we know when businesses grow, good things happen in their community. They reinvest in their neighborhood, they hire, they pay better, they make money themselves, which is always great, and are always working to improve their neighborhood. One thing, as I've been doing this work for almost 9 years now, one thing that we've been trying to tackle is the issue of access to capital. And it is a really, really big issue. It is one of the things that we cover in our different curriculums, that when a company has the right kind of capital at the right time with the right people behind them, amazing things can happen. So this panel is actually a follow-up to one that we did back in fall on alternative financing options. We wanted to give the banks an opportunity to talk about all the amazing things that they do and that they offer so that they can help you grow your business as well. So first, let's just give a big hand to our bankers to be here today. I want to do a quick intro for all of them, and then we're going to dive into the details. So first, Denise Pachuca with BMO Bank. Thank you. Jason Engeldahl from Chase Bank. Andrew Frieder from Pyramax. Heather Nelson from Spring Bank. I had to keep practicing yesterday. Spring Bank, not spring break. And Alvina Poppert from Waukesha State Bank. So thank you so much for the 5 of you to be here today to talk with our entrepreneurs a little bit about the financing options that we have. So right off the bat, we're going to talk about how each of your banks approach financing and a very high-level overview of some of the options that you have, particularly for some of our more startup-like companies. We have many companies in the audience that are BIPOC and women-owned that have gone or are going through our Spark program. So Denise, I would love to start with you.
Sure. Denise Pachuca, I've been with BMO 9.5 years. Not going to focus too much talk about me because I want to get the information out to you guys. We are an SBA lender, so we do 7A, 504, and SBA type loans. We also do conventional lending, lines of credit. We actually have a product that we call a simple secure product, where for for-profit businesses, we will do 30% of their annual sales, 10% for non-for-profit businesses. With our, we also do acquisitions. We do, if you're looking for different commercial purchases, we will also look at doing, I guess, let me make sure, because I have so many different things going through my mind. Vehicle, equipment type lending. I wanted to focus a little bit more talking about the BIPOC. We also, in 2020, rolled out a new program as our Zero Barriers to Business program, specifically targeted to help entrepreneurs like yourself who identify as a woman in business, a Black-owned business, Latino-owned business, or Native-owned. With the program, there's 3 pillars. There's the access to capital, which you mentioned, that is something that is very important to you guys. With that program specifically, it is a non-collateral based program. We can do access to capital via a credit card for startups, access to capital via a line of credit, maximum $50,000. For a business to take advantage of the line of credit, they do have to be in business 2 years. We don't ask for much information on that, but if you want to know more info, by all means, ask later. One of the other pillars in that program is access to financial literacy and education, and the other pillar is access to organizational partnerships, as we believe is so important to provide alternative means of access through some of the local CDFI and chambers, as well as the opportunity for like-minded individuals like yourself to network with each other and potentially become each other's clients and or referral partners. So that's just a gist of pretty much every type of lending that we have, and I hope to share more as you guys continue to ask questions.
Wonderful. Thank you, Denise. Next, Jason from Chase.
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. Hope everyone's having a great day. Happy Hump Day. The The sun is out, so that's positive. So my name is Jason Ingledow. I'm the Executive Director of Business Banking for JP Morgan Chase. I've been in banking for 21 years. I've done a little bit of everything in banking, and I own my own company. I'm third generation of a family business, so I understand the complexities and what it means and how challenging it is from an access to capital standpoint. This is my passion. I love to give back. I love to help businesses start, grow, thrive, overcome challenges, economic downturns, things of that nature. I have a master's in finance and economics, and so this is what I do. I love it. I get excited to go to work every day and help businesses. Right now, I manage 8 business bankers, and we have roughly about 880 clients in the metro Milwaukee area. So from the standpoint of business loans, what Chase does, we take kind of a backstop on really try to identify where you are in the life cycle of your business, thoroughly try to understand the complexities of what you're being challenged with, right? Because it's a broad stroke term, access to capital, right? Like, what does that mean? And where are you in your life cycle in your business? So we do things like education. We offer free seminars. If you go on to chase.com/business, you'll see a plethora of all new videos. So it's chase.com/business. Tutorials about every aspect of starting a business, growing a business, and cash flow. We offer a free 3-hour cash flow class. And then we do credit journey on a personal side, right? Because maybe you're being challenged with some of the personal credit stuff too. So we partner you with some of our bankers in our retail stores, and we do credit journey to help you identify what is personal credit, what does that mean, how do you keep it separate from your business. So we do a lot of education. We are an SBA provider, or it's called a PLP, preferred lender provider of SBA. So we do startups, acquisitions, you name it, business expansions, real estate purchases of that nature. But again, there's a lot of complexities and a lot goes into access to capital. So I really do a deep dive from a discovery standpoint to understand where you're at.
Great. Thanks so much, Jason. We'll move on to Andrew from Pyramax.
I hope I don't sound too repetitive, but we were talking a little earlier, and it's the same thing that Jason said. What gets me out of bed in the morning is working with the small businesses that are in this room, seeing the spark in people's eyes that they want to really grow their business and take it to the next level, and take the business into the stratosphere. You can see that spark in the eyes of a business owner, and that's being able to help and work with those people really is what makes my day. We're a little different, and what we do a little differently is we take a little more of a consultative approach. It's the access to capital is a wide spectrum, and we don't believe there's a one size fits all option. We have SBA products. We've got products for buying a business, buying a building, buying equipment, lines of credit, credit cards, the whole gamut of products. But there's not a one size fits all. What we really want to do is understand your business, find what works for you, and give you some options to pick from. When you work with us, or work with me, it's going to be me for the life of your account. There's going to be ups and there's going to be downs when starting a business, and it's having open communication that leads us to find ways for you to access capital. So whether it's an SBA loan, we're a preferred lender with the SBA as well, or whether it's a conventional loan, whether it's a mortgage or a line of credit or credit card, we're just trying to find the product that's going to work the best for you, that you're comfortable, that makes sense, so you can focus on growing your business and not focus on making a loan payment.
Love that. Thank you, Andrew. Next, we will move on to Heather from Spring Bank.
Spring Bank is a small community bank out in Brookfield. We work majority in a 5-county area, which is like the Waukesha, Milwaukee, Washington, Racine, Kenosha area. I would say, to back up a little more, for the overall arching banking product, is that just to remember that when you're going through this process, that all money is not good money. So access to money isn't always good if it's not what you need. Don't try, if you need a $50,000 line of credit and a bank says, I can give you 10, don't grab onto the 10. Keep trying to get what you need, because you're gonna hurt yourself in the long run. So just kind of try to find a bank that fits your needs. We all have different parameters and things that we can do. The larger banks are really good, which would be more of the Chase and the BMO, at accessing the quick money. There are many accounts, they do a great job of those types of things. And then banks get smaller, so it just depends on what your needs are. Our products are all the same, just like everyone else pretty much has the same type of product. They may have a niche for you to fall into, to say, oh, we have this special one for a startup if you're in business for 2 years. Our products, because we have one location, we're a small community bank, are very specialized to the individuals and what they're looking for. So it just really depends what you're looking for. And then I want to say more about the other stuff. So it's just, I feel like I need to explain that you really just need to find a good partner. Banks are great partners, and you just need to find something that really fits your needs, and don't stop until you find the place that has your needs in mind.
Thank you, Heather. And last but not least, Avelina from Waukesha State Bank.
Thank you. Yeah, Heather, you totally took it out, but we also offer same type of products. SBA, we also work with local, like the MEDC, which is the Milwaukee Economic Development Corp. I will also do USDA. I know not a lot of individuals are familiar with that, but those products allow longer amortization, and lower down payments. And I think, like Heather said, it's really important to find a banker that you can build a relationship with, and that banker can introduce you to other folks that can also help you, whether that be an attorney, an accountant, so that they can set you up with long-term stability.
Thank you, Avelina. So some wonderful tidbits already. Why don't we get right into it about partnerships and finding the right resources. We saw a lot in 2020 and 2021 with the PPP rollouts. A lot of that was tied to having a banker, knowing the first name and the cell phone number of your banker. A lot of companies were left in the dust because they don't have that relationship. So particularly to your point, Heather, how do you find the right partner, and what do you look for in that partner, and what should that relationship look like with your banker?
I mean, one thing I think, one of the reasons that all of us are here is because we're geared towards making Milwaukee a better place, working with small businesses, and progressing things. Once you worked in banking a long time, you know a lot of people. We have an email thread of 25 commercial lending women that it's like, okay, I can't do this loan. Avelina, can you do this loan? So all of us have a goal of helping and making sure the deals get done. We all might not have the same parameters or the same abilities to do things. Being a smaller bank, it takes me longer to get things done sometimes. I have more access to the person I need to get approval from, but it might take me longer. You might say, I need this tomorrow. Like, I have to buy this truck. My truck went out. I've got to, have this. BMO's, like, quick to get their things done. They've got the process, procedures. So I think you have to work with someone who you can trust, that's looking out for your best interest, even if it's not with them. That they're looking out to help you in general, because today you might be the best fit for me, but again, I'm a small bank, so my maximum loan is 10 million, and I might have to say in 5 years from now, you're gonna have to look for someone else. Let me introduce you to so-and-so who's gonna be able to help you. So you just wanna create a relationship, and the most important part of that is to be very, very honest and upfront. Because we research and we get everything anyway. So if you're like, yeah, I made $100,000, and then I get your tax return, and I'm like, how come it says you lost $2,000 and you said you made $100,000? you know, like, we're gonna need all that stuff anyway, so just be upfront. And even if we can all work within those parameters, if you really did lose $2,000, you can say, hey, I lost a big client this year, so I lost $2,000, but now I've already gotten these 2 new clients. So honesty upfront is the best.
Yeah, so let me just take a stance about this. Like, all banks are not created equal. What I mean by that is, like, we all have our niches, right? Like, there's community banks, there's regional banks, there's national banks, there's international. So, and every financial institution has its own set of guidelines that they have to follow from a regulatory standpoint and can do certain things that others can't. So that's the greatest challenge, is how to navigate the banking world, right? So in general, small and entrepreneurs, startups, you've been in business 1 or 2 years, you're making, you know, $20,000 to $100,000 a year in net profit. Well, if you start with a community bank that you are in your town, they want to support that community. Like Waukesha, it's Waukesha, right? They do a phenomenal job at Waukesha. Like, so every bank's a little bit different, so you have to identify what's important to you, where you live, and get to know a banker and feel comfortable with that person, that they have the expertise to educate you and navigate that for you, right? Because we're really good, JP Morgan Chase, is that you say you can never outgrow us, right? It's true, you can never outgrow JP Morgan Chase. Every bank has different lending guidelines. Every bank has a cap of what they can lend. So it's important just to start at a community. For me, I would start in your community where they get to know you on a personal level.
I'll add to what he was saying, like, when I think about business owners, there's 3 important people you should all have in your corner. That's a lawyer, right, because in case something bad happens, you want someone who's gonna help you through that process. A CPA, who truly understands your goals, share with them your goals, not just someone who's, you know, doing your taxes once a year and doesn't really understand the gist and what you're looking to achieve with your business. And a business banker, and it should be someone who you're comfortable and being honest, being yourself, that you can tell them, okay, these are my goals. This is what I want to achieve. Someone that will continue to grow with you through that process, and someone who, like, sometimes, you know, like they said, BMO is not the fix for everything that you're looking for. That has connections and can connect you to someone else to help you achieve that, which is okay. You know, it's okay that we can't do it all, but we want to make sure that if it's not us, that it's someone else, and we can connect you with that person.
Exactly. You know, we've all kind of touched on it. It's finding somebody in your community who you can build a relationship out of trust with, and working with that person, you know, today. And if you get to a point where they can't, you know, help you out anymore, they can help hand you off, and, you know, so that you're not going to a website for a blank referral. You know, it's a warm handoff, and somebody understands your business. If you get to know somebody, they know other people in the community. You know, a banker, we know a lot of people, and if you have to work with somebody else, we're gonna know who might be a good fit for you if you've become a good fit for us. So building that relationship, and I know it's been said, but being as fully transparent. Talking to your banker about not only your hopes and dreams, but the things that go wrong, it's key. The things that go wrong don't scare us. We've seen it before. But hiding those things and waiting till the last minute, till after the tax returns are filed, and then telling us, that's when we get a little nervous. If you tell us we lost a key customer as things are going, we can work through that with you. We can really be a partner to help you through that difficult process. There's gonna be ups and downs. We wanna help you celebrate the highs, and we wanna help you, you know, pick you up when you're going through the lows.
Yeah, and I think we want to hear your story. We want to hear where you started, the troubles that you've come up with, the celebrations that you've gone through, but also to interview your banker, not us just interviewing you. Feel free to ask them questions. You want to make sure you guys are on the same page.
You actually led perfectly into my next question, Alvina, and I am bouncing around a little bit on the questions that I sent to you. So banking, I've always approached as kind of a matchmaking process. You need to make sure that the bank and the banker serves you, and that also you fit into what they serve, their niche, their flavor. So what do you as bankers look for when a business owner, entrepreneur approaches you? And what do you think that they should be looking for from you?
I'll be real quick. Both sides, character. You should look for character, and I look for character.
What kind of goes off of that, both sides, it should be, like I said earlier, a relationship of trust. You should look that you can not only trust your banker, but the banker can trust you. It should be an open and two-way relationship. You want to get a good feel.
Yeah.
Can I interject? With trust, like, if you just meet one time, how do you determine establishing that trust, or how do you do that?
Yeah, well, character is defined by many things, right? Yeah, so for character, we look at what do you do in the community, right? Did you go to high school in the community? Are you volunteering in the community? Have you been arrested? Do you have we'll go on CCAP and domestic abuse, bankruptcies, all the above. That's character, right? If you don't manage your personal life, then how are you going to manage your money? And that doesn't instill trust for us, and that's a character issue. Same thing for us. You're interviewing me. Ask me about my life, right? What have I accomplished in my life? What's my credibility? That's important as well.
And it's sitting in your seat and coming, if you were, interviewing a banker and saying, how are you trustworthy? Exactly, I'd say look us up if you want to. Google's a powerful tool, it's out there. Our underwriters are going to Google the companies that we're working with, and they're going to go ahead and look us up. I'd say look at a banker who, do they look at the simple things? Do they return phone calls? Do they return emails on a timely basis? If you send if you send an email to somebody you've never met, a banker, and look at what kind of reply you get from them. Are you going to get a friendly reply? Is it not so friendly, or is it very, robotic? You can pick up a lot of subtle things if you read between the lines.
I think just to follow up with that, your first interaction, or at least for me personally, my first interaction with a customer is really important, right? I want to get to know you, you want to get to know me. The background and things like that, there usually is a story that can be told with things, right? So not everything's black and white. So not everything's going to fit in that box. So being as upfront and honest in the beginning is going to build that relationship.
So I'd say two things about that. One, what I've noticed, and I'm old, I've been doing this a long time, so take into consideration my age when I'm saying this for sure. But it is very difficult for me as a lender when someone says, can we just do a quick Zoom meeting to discuss my business? It's really hard for me because character is a big deal. The numbers may work, but I'm like, I don't know if I can, just like you're interviewing me, like, I don't know if I can work with him. Like, I don't get a feel for it, so I need someone to stop in, meet, if it's just for a little bit. The other thing I see with that is people get really frustrated. People may have gotten turned down by like 3 or 4 deals, 3 or 4 banks, and so then when they get to me, they're like, I'm just gonna email you my financials and just tell me what I can do. And you're like, well, like, I'm gonna tell you no, because that's how you're approaching me. So it's really, and I try, like, I understand it's very frustrating, so I try to pull a little more out and have them come in, but know that this is the first time I'm meeting you. I understand, like, this is frustrating, you're a startup, you're an entrepreneur, but it's the first time I'm meeting you, so I need you to give me everything. And also I would say, to the different things, know that everyone's checking things, but know that, kind of to what Evelina was saying, we understand that there's a story if there's an issue. Like, your credit's shitty, well, you got a divorce last year, and I gotta know why. You can't just say, I didn't feel like paying my bills. Like, there's gotta be a story. If there's something behind it that's logical, we all have things that we've gone through or things that aren't pretty about us, so make sure, again, it goes to the honesty, but you don't have to fit in the box all the time if you have it all kind of an explanation for some of the slips along the way, I guess. Even if it is personal, like we talked about, there's business slips when you lose a customer, and there's personal slips too, and you gotta just be able to explain those.
I have a question. Everyone talks about the box here, and I think maybe defining what we as bankers refer to as the box versus a hypothetical box too, and where people can posture themselves depending on where the decisions are made too, is important for the larger masses to understand who aren't in the industry too.
So I have a question. Heather, exactly how old are you?
53, and you've been my customer for
23 years.
23. Wow.
No, to drill down on the readiness and preparedness, and let's drill down on first impressions, last impressions, character, if you will. So what does that look like for you, for us?
What does character look like?
Yeah, or first impression, the readiness.
The readiness is,
So when you say, come to me ready, what does that mean? What does that look like?
well,
Do
everyone.
you just want to do this interview? Did Deshaun send you these questions ahead of time? I'll just stand and look for you.
I think every person is going to come to us with a different level of readiness, and we understand that. It's more of, I expect someone to come with everything they have. They may not have all the knowledge or all the things that they need, but like I usually start really basic. Hey, if you're coming in for a meeting, can you bring your tax returns? If someone's like, I'm starting a business, I don't want like a 50-page business plan, but if you have a page or two synopsis, I'm probably not going to read it at the time when you come in. I'm going to want you to walk me through it and kind of tell me your story. The issue was in the past, people would, with AI, I'm sure we'll get there again, people come in with a business plan, but they have no idea what it says because they had someone else write it or someone else put things in, and I was like, oh, so what's this? And I don't know what that is. So just a 2-page of like, hey, this is what I'm trying to do. Can you give me some advice? You might not have the numbers. You might want to say, is there some place I can go? Some people I'm sending to WIBIC right away to say, hey, they have a great business plan, great projection program, you might want to start there. So everyone comes at a different level. I just expect someone to come on time, bring what I've asked for, and be able to communicate their story, I guess.
And I'll add to what she was saying, just come ready to answer questions, right? Because the first meeting that you have, like they have said before, come with questions you want to ask us to determine if we're the right fit for you, but come ready to answer our questions too. We want to understand your journey, how you got started, what your plans are, and it's really difficult for us to understand what you want to achieve if you're not willing to disclose, where you're at financially, where you're at credit-wise, because your time is valuable and so is ours. So we don't just want to sit there and go through the notions and we still at the same spot because we really don't understand what it is that you're trying to accomplish and where you're at financially. So just be ready to answer those questions and be honest about them, because the more honest you are, the better our recommendations can be for you.
Yeah, I just want to continue that conversation a little bit more. Ready is defined by you too, right? And don't just go out and apply for loans that get turned down. There's a problem if you're getting turned down. And again, back to the point where I said all banks aren't created equally. I would encourage you to come up with 5 questions and go out and interview banks. I think it's important to say, one of the questions, say, how do you approach small business banking? Back to your question, what is your box, right? Because every bank has their box. We call it the sandbox, right? We don't do investment real estate, but I partner with other banks that do investment real estate. And I'm going to give you 3 names to call, right? We may not be great at startup businesses, but I got 3 banks that are really good at startup businesses. So those are the types of resources they should bring to you. It's not about always trying to fit into my world. I want to help you succeed. And if I'm a good banker, I'm going to give you all these resources so you can go do your own research and decide on your own what ready is before you apply for it. We'll write business plans. They help people get ready to be bankable, right? So that's something critical. If you haven't look it up. I mean, and it's not just for women, it's for everyone. They even have educational courses on an ongoing basis. So I think I just wanted to expand on that a little bit more.
To add to the ready idea, we've talked about ready being what documents, your tax returns, stuff like that you have. But ready, it can also be a mentality. You may have talked to 5 or 6 other bankers and they've all told you no so far. Don't let that discourage you. Being ready to talk about your business, being excited about your business really is the first thing that I can see when I talk to somebody. Like I said before, they've got that spark in their eye, they've got that fire in their belly that they want to grow their business and they're excited to talk about their business. When I see that, that starts showing me that not only maybe they've got their tax returns ready, but they're emotionally, mentally ready to start a partnership with a bank. And I can't say enough about WIBIC. I know we've talked about them a few times. I'm actually on WIBIC's loan committee, so if I can't approve your loan and I refer you over to WIBIC, there's a good chance I'll be just approving it at WIBIC.
And he already knows you.
And I already know you. So, like we've said, a banking partner should be somebody who, if they can't do the deal for you or they can't provide the financing, they can find you somebody who can. If the bank says we need some projections or business plan, you don't know where to start, WIBIC's a great place. But there are a lot of options out there like WIBIC, and knowing your banker and knowing them well will help you find those should they be necessary.
I also think too, sometimes we think of a bank as you have to have that ready, like everything in line, right? And I don't think that's the case anymore. I think you need to just have that conversation, start the conversation first, and then we can either meet you there or we can give you the tools to help you get there.
I don't think we did a good job doing your
I
defining
know.
your box. Okay, so as an example of the box that we all work within, if you think of a larger bank, BMO can't have 50 different lenders and they're all like, you have to have a credit score of 700 for this lender, 600 for this lender, 300 for this lender. They have to have something very specific because they have to all operate under the same parameters. And so if their box says your credit score, and credit score is just one thing that's in this box, has to be 700, she's not gonna be able to help you if it's 699, and she's gonna have to say, hey, can you talk to this banker because they're able to do that. Everyone has a different box. And those are, when you brought up like the questions you should have to bring to your lender, and those things you can ask over the phone. Do you have a credit score limit? Springbank doesn't even credit score, so we wouldn't look at that. So if you have like a little hiccup, we might look at that. Bankruptcy. Some banks say you gotta be 2 years fully out of the bankruptcy in order for us to look at it. So those are, when someone's saying ask the right questions, those are the questions that you already know about yourself or about your business that you could ask. And credit is just one of the things that fit in the box. Like he's saying character. Character is another thing. What in bankruptcy is one of those things. If you've been arrested, that might be something that doesn't work out in some instances. Like an instance that wouldn't work out for me at my bank would be a customer I had came in and he wanted to open a bar, but within the last year and a half he had 3 drunk driving tickets. So you could see why that logically wouldn't work for a bank, because we don't want you in a bad position, and as a bank we don't want to be in a bad position because there might be more to it if there's a trend of something. For our bank, it was a drunk driving ticket 10 years ago. Then it's kind of like, oh, we all make mistakes, that was a mistake, moving on, we can do this. So you kind of have to look at, so that's credit, character, capacity.
I love the alliteration we can make out
We
of
all look, the box has the 5 C's. So, you guys did this already in class.
Yeah.
So that's the box.
They're like, that sounds familiar.
So that's the box, but our box our boxes are all different. So if you ask those 5 questions of all of us, they're all gonna be different, but you can figure out where you fit then.
And
Does that
just real
answer it?
quick, it's because of regulatory too, right? Oversight, right? Like, we are the most scrutinized bank. The government looks at us, because if we fail, everything fails, right? So we have strict guidelines depending on the size of the bank. There's different guidelines and things that they cannot do from an underwriting perspective, right? They have more, you know, I don't know what you want to call it, variables, but every bank's a little bit different from that perspective too.
Was that a little
I
bit?
think that's perfect, because I think, you know, one person mentioned something about, you know, previous convictions, and then I know that other banks, you know, with context and not everything is
Right.
black and white, there are things, so
Correct.
that's the perfect example as to why
Yeah,
you have to have the right partner and advocate.
yeah, that's a hand.
Just for clarity, of the box being 5 Cs, can you please tell everyone what 5 Cs are?
Pop quiz guys.
Character, collateral, capacity,
Credit.
credit, and conditions.
Conditions.
And I have a 6C. I can't get comfortable. And I tie it back to character. And I thought, if my gut feeling, because I'm investing, I have fiduciary responsibility in my bank, and if I feel my gut, it doesn't make sense, or I don't feel right about it, I'll back out of the deal.
Thank you for that insight. I wanted to get back, we talked a little bit about it with readiness of the entrepreneur. And I wrote down what you had actually said, Heather, in your opening remarks, is how does an entrepreneur, business owner, know what kind of capital at what level they need when and how to fight for it? You had given the example of you need $50,000 and someone only offers them 10, and not all good capital, not all capital is good capital. How would you recommend our entrepreneurs or business owners kind of determine that? And at what point do they need to redirect and rethink their needs?
I mean, I think that some are very easy and very specific. I mean, I think for most banks, if you're, like he said, he doesn't do investment real estate, but if you're an owner who's gonna buy a building that you're going into, that's something that's very specific, that you can figure out how much you need. So if the building is $100,000 that you're purchasing, banks are going to vary a little bit, but at the lowest end, you have to have 10% down. So you're between 10% and 30%, and that's an easy thing that you can figure out. It's the same with a fixed asset. If you're buying a piece of equipment, if you're buying a vehicle, every bank, again, is gonna vary, but you have a specific down payment that you need of either 10% to 30%. It's gonna be somewhere in that range. Now, if it is for lines of credit and working capital, that's probably something that you can work through with your banker to look at your projections to say, I think I'm gonna have $100,000 in sales the first year. These are my cost of goods sold, and kind of go through the numbers. And we can work together on something like that. If you're saying, for instance, if it's a restaurant, you're going to Restaurant Depot and buying the food up front, and then people are paying you as they're purchasing the food. That isn't a long turnover, because if you bought the food, it's not gonna last for much more than a week. So your line of credit, if you need one, it should be based on a shorter period of time. Whereas if you're doing construction work and you're pouring cement, they're gonna wanna make sure the cement stands up to the air conditioner they're putting on it. So say they're not gonna pay you until the air condition is set up and working. So they might not pay you for 30 to 60 days. So you might need a larger line of credit if you're pouring 10 cement slabs in a week. So that's more of a work through. Fixed assets and real estate are a little easier. It's just dependent on the bank.
Using that example of the $50,000 line of credit and I'm only approving you for $10,000, I would ask the question, why? Why did you approve me for $10,000 and not $50,000? You're going to get a lot of information from that question. And by having, we've talked about relationships a ton today. By having a good relationship with who you're working with, they'll tell you why and they'll walk you through the numbers. I have a lot of customers of ours who they say, well, I need a $100,000 or $200,000 line of credit, and sometimes, you know, I look at the numbers and say, you really need $250. You're not giving yourself enough credit. Or we'll turn around and say, it has to be a little lower, and here's why. We'll meet over a cup of coffee or in my office, and we'll go through the numbers and say, this is why we're seeing it. And if we aren't seeing something correctly, if we're missing something in your business, that's an opportunity for you to tell us, oh, this is why I requested 50 or 150. And those conversations can be hugely beneficial.
Capital structure is also big. Go back to your goals. Like, how do you want to set up your organization? Do you want an S Corp? Do you want a C Corp? Do you want an LLC, a DBA? That's why a good CPA, back to the point, CPA, lawyer, right, good banker. All three can collaborate and identify, based off what your goals are, what's a good structure. How fast you're going to grow the company. Are you going to have hyper growth? And what does that mean from a capital structure? Do I need to bring in an equity partner to help grow my company? So balance sheet things are important. I would really understand balance sheets and your income statement and the variables that go into that. And as you grow, what does the capital structure need to be?
I also think too, projections. So even though if you're not a startup, but you're 2 years in, look at your projections. Keep on top of those projections, because that's where you want to be. So then if you come back to us and we're looking at those projections, and you went to the person we referred you to as like a WIPIC or an SBDC, we're going to rely on those projections because we trust that they have those conversations with you, and we're able to put legitimate projections together.
Now, go ahead.
So most small businesses, about 20% of them fail within the first 5 years. What kind of programs do you guys help to support these new startup business owners between 1 and 5 years to give them a safety net for all the money that they're investing within those first few years? Do you guys have specific programs at each of your banks that you can share? Asking for a friend.
Clarify, what do you
I'm
mean?
the friend.
What do you mean? Clarify that for me. Safety net? What do you
Yeah, so like working capital, business credit cards, what type of programs do you guys have for startups essentially under 5 years?
I think for us, we have, we utilize the SBA a lot because it's a lower down payment required. So you can, instead of having to put 20% or more into it, you can start at the 10 and keep that extra cash for your capital, your working capital there. Also to the MEDC, which is Milwaukee Economic Development Corp. There's a CAP program that we use. Also has a lower down payment, longer amortization, credit cards, things like that. But again, I think it still goes back to, if you're a startup, we want to make sure that you're prepared as well as you can be, as having those conversations together up front to make sure that we're not just lending you money and setting you up to just fail, right? So you want that relationship.
I'll piggyback to what she's saying. BMO does have a program. For startups, right? It depends on where you're at. So if you're a startup looking to acquire a business, we would look at doing SBA lending. But if you're just a startup, and I'll use an example, let's say you do hair, right? That's just the first one, because women, I get my hair done, right? Or nails or beauty, and you're not looking. You might be renting a spot or something at a salon. It's important that you build credit so that when you come to us and your business is growing, and you need that because you want to buy maybe your own property and things like that. We will work with you for startups on approving you for a business credit card. We'll use your personal credit as a way to approve you, and then we report the business credit card specifically on your business credit report so that you're building credit. The other program that I had mentioned before, our BMO Empower, that tends to be a program specifically to help businesses that are smaller in annual sales. And what we will do is we will do up to 30% of the gross annual sales with that max 50,000 line of credit. Again, a business does have to be in order to qualify for that specific program. They do need to be in business 2 years. So that's just, and that's not conventional. We've actually expanded our credit criteria to help persons who might not have that 650, 700 credit score more likely to get approved for that specific type of program. It is catered to women in business, Black entrepreneurs, Latino entrepreneurs, and Native owned. And the reason for that is because we saw the need during 2020 where a lot of minority businesses were closing at a much faster rate than non-minority. So we developed that program specifically to aid those minority business owners, and not just to sustaining their business, but actually growing. So that's the program that we have.
Question, do you offer financial classes, say for instance, like what you said with Chase?
Yes.
Or like just me being new into this, like I really want to learn about the balance sheet and learn my money, you know?
Yes.
So
Yes.
just, getting with you guys, I want to be able to get in those classes and learn how to even look at a balance sheet. I look at my profit and loss and it's just like, it's, I'm new to it, so I really don't understand it, but I want to be able to understand it. So do you guys offer that?
Yes, we do. That's actually one of the pillars of the program is bringing financial literacy. We've created actual tools that are available on our BMO.com page, like the business plan. We have understanding your financials, like the balance sheet, as well as your profit and loss. If you want to understand cash flow and how to improve it, we have actual tools on our BMO.com page that are free to customers. As well as that, we've actually, as part of the program, we just launched some workshop series like Lunch and Learn. I'm actually the person who's delivering those. One of the things that we're doing is demystifying the loan process. For a lot of Black, Brown owned, in the Black, Brown community, people are really scared of looking for access to capital, so we want to demystify that. One of the other workshop series topics, I guess, understanding small business credit versus personal credit. We're actually deep diving into like where do you go to start building that? Where do we report? What are those ranges and how does that impact your score? And another within the series itself, again, this is the 30-minute like virtual lunch and learn, where the financing options. So understanding the different financing options, depending on what the need is, and tying the right product to that need. So yes, we have a lot of that. And like I had mentioned before, the third pillar is working with organizations like WIPIC, local chambers, local CDFIs that are offering like micro lending, like smaller. Sometimes they're doing $10,000 type micro lending, as well as grants. We're always partnering with those organizations for smaller business so that they know that these resources are available.
I would just say continuing education. I mean, why do businesses fail? What do you think what's the number one reason why a business fails?
Numbers.
They're undercapitalized. And they're great ideas, but they don't have enough working capital. I mean, they're bleeding cash and they only have enough cash on their balance sheet to sustain 2 months of expenses. And then they didn't have enough sales. So, I mean, the capital structure, that's back to my point, capital structure is important. What are your goals, right? You go on YouTube and Google balance sheet income and watch a plethora of videos on those, right? Most financial institutions have resources now, but if you're not ready, back to that ready statement, and understand what it takes to run a business and be a successful entrepreneur, just because you get an SBA loan doesn't mean you should go get an SBA loan. SBA protects the banks, right? Because there's a guarantee. If you default to your loan, we're going to get a 75% guarantee that the government's going to pay us back. Because we can't take the risk. So that's why we have to layer it on with an SBA loan. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. The resources are there.
Yeah.
And again, whether that's the financial literacy piece or getting the access to capital. And that's why we said it's so important that you have that relationship with your banker, because your banker will point you to the resources, whether that's within the institution that you bank with or a local partner that we work with.
A lot of the startups that I've worked with, we see a lot of people who are great at what they do, whether they're a plumber or a nail technician or whatever. They're great at doing that, but sometimes the soft skills or the business skills aren't there, and that's why, and this is starting to feel like a WIBIC commercial a little bit.
I swear they did not sponsor this.
But that's why organizations like WIBIC, and there are plenty of them in the community, they're just the biggest one, that will help anybody who wants to learn how to run a business, whether it's accounting or marketing. I know when you take on a WIBIC loan, they make you go through their kind of boot camp, and they help you with your marketing plan and your accounting and setting up QuickBooks and stuff like that. So, finding those tools in the community and having them help you, I can't speak it highly enough of.
And their success rate is
Yeah.
like incredible. Their failure rate is very, very low.
Right. If you look at the failure rate of businesses nationwide versus the failure rate of businesses that work with some of these, like WIBIC, they're so much smaller because they're getting the attention, they're getting the help, and they're getting the training they need to really not only do a great job at being a plumber, but also doing a great job at running a business.
Great.
Yes, question. Sorry, I forgot your name. But in regards to thank you, JP Morgan. Google said, thank you, that y'all made like $136 billion in profit. So when you say that it's kind of risky to win 250,000, what does that exactly mean?
It's kind of risky for what?
To win like 250,000, what does that exactly mean as far as like risk?
Well,
If y'all made so much money.
like because we're back to regulatory, it's very complex, and there's a thing called opposite comp controller, right, and currency. So because of things that happened in the past in 2008, right, like that's when all the like Dodd-Frank and all these guidelines came out. Banks had to hire a ton of compliance officers. So they say you have to stay within these parameters, and if you don't, it goes back to fair lending, right, equal credit opportunity. So there's back to those variables. There's just so many moving parts. So, but for a book to be profitable and what we lend capital out to, we can only be wrong 0.5% of the time. Or our book's not profitable from our business line, and then we would get in trouble.
Thank you.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
And I will say, because JP Morgan Chase has been an investor and our main funder for Spark since the beginning in 2017, I recently had lunch with our program officer and their community engagement officer as well. And that is one thing that specifically Chase Bank is looking at, is the systemic issues of lending and what can be done. But there are regulations, and there's
Yeah.
only so much that can be done. Yes, Talia?
Just going back to his statement, it's also the probability of default. So it's not necessarily the amount of money that's being lent, it's the probability of you having the ability to pay it back. Small businesses is just a higher risk naturally that you're gonna pay all $250,000 back. Where Google, it's a layup. We know they have it and they're gonna pay. So they look at it from that aspect as well.
And there are so many layers to this, and we can only
Yeah.
dive in so much today. And I really appreciate the questions from the audience as well. We are getting close to the end of our time in the panel, so I wanted to give each of you an opportunity, whether it's a 30-second pitch to our audience, whether it's some information that we didn't get to. What are kind of your parting thoughts with our audience today?
I just say thank you for being entrepreneurs. I mean, if without entrepreneurs, America wouldn't be what it is today. And we need to keep building on diversity, equity, inclusion, education, awareness, and keep asking questions. Don't stop asking questions and keep learning. That's the only thing that I'd like to leave you with.
Small business is the backbone of our country and our economy, and it's people in this room are what are growing jobs and are growing our economy. And as a banker, that excites me to work with as many of you as I can. So I just continue to focus on the relationship piece of it. Find somebody who's going to be a partner for you tomorrow, next year, 10 years from now, who's going to help you as your business grows.
I guess we're going down the line.
Again, thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me to speak today. I'd love to be able to, to anyone who wants to know more information, please feel free to reach out, whether that's about our BMO Empower program and how we can help in the financial literacy. You can research all of us, and the tools are available if you know what I mean. There's a lot of branches. Feel free to stop in any of our branches and ask what type of tools we have, or visit our BMO.com page, and we're happy to provide those resources.
And out on the tables, there are contact sheets for all 5 of our bankers today as well, and they're all very friendly to talk to.
Yeah, thank you also, too. Thank you guys for coming. I think it's great to see you're here, right? That's like a great step. You're here to learn more. But yeah, feel free to reach out. I'd love to meet for coffee, anything like that. Look me up on LinkedIn, we'll connect.
Thank you, everyone, for coming. I think that we all know that as entrepreneurs, this is really hard, really, really hard work, and don't get discouraged. Keep on pushing, keep on doing what you're doing. The thing that you're doing right now might not be the thing you're doing 5 years from now, but if you have an entrepreneurial spirit and you're interested in things, learn as much as you can, take the information that you can get, take the classes, do what you can. I know it takes a lot of time and hard work, but I think it's worth it if it's something that you really enjoy to do, so.
Well,
One last thing. A lot of these resources are free, right? You guys are always looking to spend the least amount of money so that, you know what I mean, so you have some profit. A lot of resources are free. So feel free to utilize them, because that's why they're created. It's for you.
And May is Small Business Month, so
Yeah.
we're celebrating it in all of our branches at Chase, and some will have booths, and we're gonna have resources and things of that nature too, so.
Well, please join me in thanking our 5 panelists today.